Yes, as that unmistakable music once again indicates. I'm Marky Billson. This is What's Wrong with the Vols. Oh, yeah. All right. Tennessee tomorrow will be taking on the Florida Gators in Gainesville. It will be almost assuredly the 14th loss in their last 15 games. The only victory when the Vols came from a 21-0 deficit in 2016 with 38 consecutive points, in large part because Jim McElwain, perhaps the only coach out there worse than Butch Jones, went all conservative in the third quarter, run, pass, and allowed the Vols to get back into the game. Still, though, the Vols fans are optimistic. Now, the 1-2 Vols are 2-touchdown underdogs at 9th-ranked Florida tomorrow. As I said, Vols have lost 13 of the last 14 to the Gators. That's when the Urban Meyer era began, 2005. If you prefer, they've lost 21 of their last 26, 21 of the last 27 if you want to go back to when the SEC broke into divisions and UT and Florida became yearly opponents. If you want to go back to the 70s, dating back to 1976, or if you prefer 1972, two teams did not play regularly. They did not meet from 71 to 76. Tennessee has lost 26 of their last 33 games to the Florida Gators. Put it this way. Since 1975, Vanderbilt has defeated Tennessee more times, 8, than the Vols have Florida. Yeah. You really want to go into it? I mean, I could tell you that since that time, the mid-70s, the Kentucky Wildcats, who of course lost 30-odd games in a row to Florida before that streak ended last year, they've defeated Florida 6 times since the mid-70s, Tennessee 7. Yeah, I mean, it's not been good. Tennessee is not only going to be playing a 3-0 team on the road, they're going to be facing the nation's top pass rush with 16 sacks. And the Vols' offensive line has not had any game in which they started the same offensive line twice. This may be the first time, but 3 different starting lineups, 3 different games. But still, I'm listening to a Knoxville sports talk show this morning, and they're giving away a new pickup truck. That's a real nice deal. But you gotta pick the score right of the Tennessee-Florida game. All right, you know. And if you do so, you get this brand new pickup truck. Fan after fan calls up, with all that going against Tennessee, oh, I think the Vols will win 31-28. There's a pickup truck on the line here. And I mean, your heart is not going to get you the new ride. I think W.C. Fields is rolling over in his grave. That's the very definition of never give a sucker an even break, which many Tennessee fans may be watching around 2:30 if the game goes as has the last, generation or so. Anyway, but no, Florida beats Tennessee all the time. The reasons why, really not that difficult to decipher. If you look at the NFL rosters, there are almost 6 times the players that come from the state of Florida than come from the state of Tennessee. The beginning of last year, it was 211 against 37. USA Football, to my knowledge, hasn't released the opening day roster totals state by state where the players are from for this year. I'm looking for that. I always find that to be very fascinating. It's actually gone up. It went up from 33 for Tennessee in 2017 to 37 last year, but still, Florida, it went up to 211. More than California. Who has more population? More than Texas. They're all in Florida, okay? And also, let's face it, I mean, Urban Meyer, Steve Spurrier, the Gators have had bigger name coaches over the years than Tennessee, even more so than, say, Phil Fulmer. Oh yeah, Meyer and Spurrier outrank Phil Fulmer, no question about that. But in the face of such dominance, why is there such little realization about it to the Vols fan base? I mean, are the Vols fans willing to just lie to themselves? Is that the deal? I think it deals more with a culture of entitlement for a program that really isn't entitled anymore. I'll give you an example. Jeremy Banks, 4 a.m. last Sunday morning, he's arrested. He makes an illegal U-turn. That's not enough to get arrested, but it turns out he was given a citation, had to appear in court for driving on a suspended license back on July 17th. And he didn't bother to show up for court. A couple of questions here. You have a warrant out for a Tennessee football player's arrest. Why wasn't that picked up before? And for that matter, I mean, this is pretty much a big-time public figure in Knoxville. I mean, you know, you're just waiting until he screwed up again behind the wheel of a car. Another thing. Why is a starting linebacker for Tennessee out making illegal U-turns at 4 a.m. on a Sunday? But Banks is coming off a game where he intercepted a couple of passes. First time a Vols linebacker intercepted 2 passes in a game since 1981. So Banks is going to be making the trip down to Knoxville. Down to Gainesville. From Knoxville to Gainesville. You know who else will? Bryce Thompson. Just a month ago, he was arrested for misdemeanor domestic assault. He was quoted as saying he would shoot up the school in the tirade that followed when he was arrested, or right before he was arrested. And yes, Bryce Thompson was suspended, but he's returning after 3 games, and actually after only missing 2 games worth of practices. He was practicing before the Chattanooga game, was Thompson. And that was a horrible look for the Vols. Absolutely horrible. He could have been inserted into that game against the Mocs at any time. So at Tennessee, let's get this straight now. Remember Juwan Jennings? At Tennessee, criticizing deposed coaches with the same comments that every one of their fans are making. That's worthy of the same suspension that being arrested for domestic assault is and threatening to shoot up the school. Now that is a horrible, horrible look, especially during a lost season. And let's face it, Tennessee's season is lost. I mean, they're not going to go 0-12. I suppose 1-11's on the table. Probably not that, but 3-9. I mean, they're probably only going to be favored in 2 games, UAB and Vanderbilt. So at a minimum, you're looking at the Vols' 3rd straight losing season. And guess what? Banks and Thompson are not going to change that. But the problem is Jeremy Pruitt, second-year head coach, he could make a statement by giving these players a much lengthier suspension. They're just banishing off the team outright, cutting them. I mean, just a year ago, A.J. Johnson and Michael Williams were put on trial on the charge of raping a Lady Vols athlete. Now, if you throw a starting cornerback off the team for threatening to shoot up the school after that, or if you throw a linebacker off the team because, hey, he doesn't have to go to court like you and I, you're sending a disciplinary message, and one that is well needed down in Knoxville. You are sending a message. I mean, the season is going to be another loser. But you'd be sending a message that would improve the program long term, saying that such behavior is not acceptable, and that would resonate not only through the Tennessee football program, but through the Knoxville campus and the community of Knoxville and beyond long term. That, hey, we're not putting up with this anymore. Let's focus on football. Let's focus on our books. Let's not be making 4 a.m. U-turns that we shouldn't that land us in jail, to say the least. Let alone, go ballistic when your girlfriend catches, well, we're not quite sure yet. Bryce Thompson found He either was cheating on his girlfriend when his girlfriend found those eyelashes in his dorm room that didn't belong to her, or there's always the possibility that Bryce Thompson is a transvestite. And for his own character, since there's nothing wrong with that, I hope it is the latter. Okay? It would be a little bit different, but at least his character would be a little bit better if that was the case. But instead of doing that, instead of doing the strong leadership thing, Pruitt is trying to build straw men in his defense of quarterback Jared Guarantano, who had a good game against Chattanooga, but then again, that's an FCS opponent. This is the quote Pruitt had following the Vols' 45-0 victory against the Mocs on Saturday, in which Guarantano really did shine. He only threw one incomplete pass. His backups really struggled. This is the quote. "We're not really worried about what you say when it comes to our quarterback." The implication was the media or the fan base was pushing for a quarterback switch. Who is pushing for a quarterback switch? Even I, who famously has said Sacred Heart's quarterback is better than Jared Guarantano, is not pushing for a quarterback switch because I don't think that the people behind him are any good, because I think they would have played by now if they were, because, let's face it, Guarantano has not been gangbusters in his career. The media and the fans have been exceedingly patient with the Tennessee Volunteers losing ways. Now, I got to tell you, I think that it's because instead of calling them out for their demise, Tennessee's fans and media really feel the Vols are entitled to it. I'm Marky Billson. Until next time.